Hey guys, this is Sanjay from FTC Team 7477, Super 7. Today, I'm going to be talking about the static keyword in Java. So, if you didn't know, in Java, the static keyword is one of the most essential features in Java, allowing you to create variables, methods, blocks, or nested classes that belong to the class rather than being an instance of the class. By the end of this video, you'll understand how and when to use static effectively in your programs. So let's start with some code. So I'll just program that quickly. So public class. So there's only one option for our class name because that's to match our file name. So, which is main. So public class main. We can initialize a static integer count. So let's say every time a method's called, count increments by 1. Just an example, right? Static int count equals 0. So now we can initialize the method that's going to do this. So public void, since we don't want it to return anything. Static, counter. And each time our counter method's called, just increments count by 1. So in Java, the static keyword indicates that a member belongs to the class and not to any specific instance of the class. Here, counter is a static variable as indicated by the static keyword. This means its value is shared across all objects of our main class. Every time we create a new object, counter is incremented. So let's expand on this code a bit by adding a main method. So our main method is public static void main string and args. So let's create some objects, right? So example object 1 equals new example. Oh, instead of having it as example, this also has to match our file name, which is our class name. So main object 1 equals new main, and we can also initialize another object. So main object 2 equals new main. And let's just print something out. So using IntelliJ's built-in shortcut for system.out.println, we can effectively use our counter method. So number of objects created, because as mentioned before, our counter method tracks how much objects are created, and we add main dot count. So in this example, the counter variable keeps track of how many objects of our counter method have been created. Notice how we access the static variable using main.count. You don't need an object to access a static variable, since it belongs to our class. Next, let's talk about static methods. So I'm gonna erase this code and just code it real quick. New code. Static int square. So you might be able to guess what this method does. It just squares an integer. So int x, so we can have a parameter such that it squares that integer. So you can return x times x. So now we can work on our main method. So public static void main string args. So we can print out square of, let's just have any number. Let's say 7, right, for Super 7. So square of 7. So we can just concatenate main dot square of, let's just say 7, right? And the reason why this works is that static methods can be called without creating an object of the class. So in this example, square, which is this method up here, it's a static method that directly calculates the square of a number. You access it directly by using the class name, which is main. Static methods are ideal for utility functions, or logic that doesn't depend on instance variables. Next, let's talk about static blocks. So I'm going to code some new code. Alright, first we can initialize a static integer. So let's just call it static variable. Sorry, so that's static var, right? So this is the syntax for forming a static block. Essentially, you say static, and then you put curly brackets, and yep, that's how you initialize a static block. So we can set static var equal to, let's just say any number, just like 7, right? And then in our main method, we can print out. So let's do our main method, public static void main string args. We can just print out our static variable. So we can print out, using IntelliJ's built-in shortcut, static variable. So a static block is executed when the class is loaded into memory, even before any objects are created or any methods are called. Here, the static block initializes the static var variable, and yep, static blocks are often used for initializing static variables or performing one-time setup tasks. So over here, we initialize a static variable using a static block, and we just print it out in our main method. Next, let's talk about some practical uses of the static keyword. So, the static keyword is versatile and widely used in Java. Here are some common use cases. First of all, utility classes. Methods like math.square or arrays.sort are static because they don't require any state. Number 2, global counters. You can track shared data across all instances of a class. Number 3, a configuration setup. So you can use static variables or blocks to initialize shared resources like for work or for personal use. 4, constants. You can use the keyword static final, so I'll say that, static final, to define constants, ensuring a single copy of a variable exists. So let's summarize what we learned today. Static variables belong to the class, not any specific instance. Static methods can be called directly using the class name. Static blocks execute when the class is loaded into memory. Static members are shared across all instances of a class, making them useful for shared resources or global logic. Thank you for watching the Super Saiyan programming tutorial, and see you in the next one.